I don't know the women's names who I'm always passing by on my street.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. It is I am Mighty Sophia here to break down the penultimate episode of Better Call Saul Season 1, Pimento. So, spoiler alerts before we dive into the mad thick of things, as I will be bearing all in this review, and in case you guys missed it, my season finale review of The Walking Dead is up. You can find a link to that in my Walking Dead playlist in the description, as well as other fun videos and stuff too. So, but without further ado, we've got business to discuss in the Badlands of Albuquerque, New Mexico. So, I have to begin this by saying that, you know how when you're watching, say, a comic book, superhero film, television show, maybe you already know the story. Maybe this is about the 56th reboot of the same old story, and generally you know where things are going. But it is all about, and I hate to be cliche, but the journey more than even the destination, because we recognize the general trajectory of the story or where it might end up, but what makes it so thrilling is to see how all of that is brought about. And we see that with the proliferation of origin stories that we have for some of our favorite superheroes and villains alike. And it's funny that I use the concept of heroes and villains because we kind of see that broken down even by Mike in this episode as he's teaching Sir Price, the pill peddler, a lesson or two about being a bad guy, a good guy, and a criminal. You know, you can be the criminal, be a decent person. You can be the criminal and be scum of the earth. And we have seen this quite abundantly in Breaking Bad, especially. But, so, all that to say, when we are watching those sorts of films or television shows, I'm thinking most recently of, say, Fox's Gotham show, where we're waiting to see, it's basically the prequel to the overarching Batman story, or the very beginnings thereof. But we're waiting for that pivotal moment where we see in a character the impetus to become what they're going to be. And that is what we got this week in Pimento. That is precisely what we have arrived at the moment that Saul Goodman was born. This is his conception, and it is by no means a thing to be taken lightly. We have spent an entire season building up to the ultimate betrayal. I mean, that was a frickin' Judas's kiss in the Garden of Gethsemane there in the final 5 minutes, and whoa man, was that painful and a half. I mean, It was barely even just starting to dawn on me when Jimmy was busting into the salon with all of his top shelf booze, ready to kick it with his girl Kim and whine about the boss of the century, hail Satan. And then the way that she looks at him, and we know that just shortly before, after Howard Hamlin went ham, acting like the bad guy, and then promptly before she can leave, unsettled by his whole merciless display, before she can leave, the door is shut. And a story is told. We know this. And so I was reading Kim really closely in that scene, because it's been difficult to read Chuck simply because of all of his conflicting emotions and perceptions, and with his attempts at building a tolerance to the outside world and all the electromagnetic energy and currents. And so he's got all these things going on. So at any given time, he's acting ever so slightly off because he's trying to reacclimate to this world that he has taken, 18 months away from, or however freaking long it's been that he's been in this isolation. But yeah, so I was watching Kim very closely in that scene, and with the whole take the deal thing, you know that there is nothing that Hamlin could offer her to make her approach Jimmy in that way, because she came to Hamlin as Jimmy's friend. So why would she come to Jimmy at this point as anything less than his friend, as anything less than wanting the absolute best for him? And it all adds up. The phone call, space blanket oven pencil, and just everything becomes abundantly clear. Painfully, ridiculously clear. And what an astonishing journey, what an astonishing moment to see exactly where all of this is going. And sorry, my computer is yelling at me and it's making me upset. Go away. Okay, please. All right, we're back. But wow, I mean, and it makes me think too of, there have been some side mentions throughout this season about the American dream, all these sort of little ironic comments that are sprinkled in. And while I don't necessarily think that this is a tale of the failed American dream, I don't necessarily think that's what this show is about. At the same time, it is reminiscent of that, because here Jimmy is at a point where he and Chuck can be equals, can go in as partners on this, millions of dollars case. Multi-state, so many high stakes. I mean, it's so perfect. It is the perfect opportunity for the two of them to finally be united in this line of work in which Jimmy has been attempting to make not only a living, but a name for himself and an identity. That's what he wants. And that is precisely what Chuck takes away from him. And it's unfathomable. Unfathomable. It is unfathomable. What is going on here? I'm gonna scratch that word and move right along. How about inconceivable? Okay, let's go a little Princess Bride here for a second. But to think of everything that Jimmy has tried to invest to get to this point. He has tried so freaking hard to leave Slippin' Jimmy behind and to get up on his own 2 feet and to truly establish himself, which is what he's been trying to do with elder law, which is not necessarily his inherent passion. I don't think that he aspired to be the bingo king. But he's willing to do it. He is willing to go the extra mile for whoever will give him the time of day, will give him the opportunity to make himself. And that was what he was getting. And that was what he was inviting Chuck into, bringing Chuck back out of himself, who instead promptly spins the entire situation on end. And as soon as he has that glimmer of light, as soon as he takes that first step back into the corporate world, even before, he knows. He knows precisely what he's believed all this time, and he knows that Jimmy has overstepped his bounds. That fake diploma and his slipshod credentials and his past and all these things he allows to overshadow what Jimmy is trying to accomplish, who he is today. The skills that he has, and he can't stand it. He can't stand the idea that someone like Jimmy could rise to this place. He feels that he has earned things going the straight and narrow path. That he has earned his place judiciously and with all the necessary credentials and responsibility and nobility. And it all becomes so disgusting and appalling to those of us, especially, for as many of us who are sympathizing with Jimmy and seeing what he is genuinely trying, the passion and the skill that he possesses. And yeah, we've seen some glimpse into his past and his god-awful hairdos in the process, but you know what? What is the change for us? We even know exactly where he's going to go, and still we want for him to have this opportunity to finally to be solid, to substantiate himself and to have a way to consistently channel that passion and in a way that benefits freaking mankind. But no, that old Chuck's ego, man, it has been living in the dark right along with him and getting bigger by the hour somehow, some way. And we have been made to, I think, sympathize with both of them, which makes this entire situation so heartbreaking. It's like a freaking, I'm thinking like The Lion King with Mufasa. Mufasa is hanging from the cliff, and here's Scar, and he's all up there. And then I don't remember exactly how the line goes, but so he's got like his claws there, and Scar is like, "Long live the king," and then he falls and everyone dies, and then freaking Simba is an orphan and perpetual sadness, and Pride Rock is overtaken by the hyenas. That's what's going on. That is what is going on in our dear Albuquerque. There's something rotten in the state of Denmark, and it is a brother's betrayal. That cold kiss in the garden, that, you know, it's so perfectly devastating. It is the perfect devastation, and I owe that completely and 100% to the creative direction of Vince Gilligan, Peter Gould, Bob Odenkirk, Michael McKean, and just the entire cast has sold this story so flawlessly. I could not be more appreciative of what all has gone into this, and the fact now that this is that pivotal moment. This is the beginning of whoever Jimmy is going to be. And yeah, we know exactly where all of this is headed, and I am a little bit frightened judging by what we saw in the preview for the finale episode, because it already feels like a sort of beginning of the end, and yet we're just getting started with the story. But of course, there's still so much to explore too with what's going to transpire between Jimmy and Mike as well, which that was a really fascinating plotline for Mike to kind of run in parallel to Jimmy's endeavor to break good, really. And with this betrayal by his brother, this is now the beginning of his breaking bad. We see him storming out from the bingo ballroom with this very nihilistic, you know, we're never going to escape this hellhole kind of a comment, and it all feels like it's crashing down. But this is the point where Jimmy's criminal instincts begin to kick in again. But is he really such a bad guy for it? I mean, we understand now more than ever, and like I said, this is just the start. Who knows what's going to transpire between Jimmy and Chuck in the days to come, but Jimmy's delivered this ultimatum, like, you know, I got your favorite groceries, and you're gonna have to live on that until you are ready to face all the electromagnetism in the world, because why should I be here for you when you have been nothing but never there for me? It's truly an astonishing reversal, one that I did not foresee. I mean, I could tell that Chuck has had his doubts and has always spoken in this condescending and just deprecating way of like, oh, good for you, that's great, that's swell, that's fine, never, let's get you to the next step, let's do this together. Jimmy has reached and reached and reached and reached, and we have those relationships in our own lives where we are reaching and we are doing everything that we possibly can to make it work, but no matter what, the odds are stacked against us. And so, you know, I don't even think that Hamlin's gonna be the one going to hell. Mr. Hamlin and his Hamlindigo blue. It's just not the way of it, not the truth. But yeah, so with Mike, we get to see him pulling out his street smarts. That is for freaking sure. So here he is. He's got Goliath on one side, and little David on the other side. Except David's got like 5 slingshots. He's all like, I could be taking out who the frick ever I want to, and this is how it's gonna go down. This is how it's gonna be what you got, and just he's clearly compensating. I'm sorry, but it is quite apparent by his entire approach to the situation. Whereas Mike actually, very surprisingly, comes without a gun, but he is equipped with the brains and the know-how to disarm this mofo quite flawlessly. And so he takes on a 3-man job, embodying it in and of himself, and he has the knowledge to know that the deal that he and Price were going into was one that required a smooth transaction. One that would not have resulted in gunfire, even with the belaboring over the missing $20. It all had to go down, no matter whose egos or whose stakes, whatever. It had to be an even exchange because it was outside of the jurisdiction of Nacho's boss. So we got to see him again. He's still in the picture, still chilling. But yeah, so we get to see more into the character of Mike. And what's fascinating too, we see that not only is he showing these guys up and showing that he knows how to run this system, and that it's all about the knowledge and the brains over the brawn and the force and the weaponry. He demonstrates that so clearly, but we also see his motivations to take care of Kaylee and to provide for her. So when he can show up all these other guys at the Bad Boys audition, he's taking home more bang for his granddaughter and substantiating a future for her as well, which is just freaking brilliant, and he is top dog forever and always. So I hope that those of you who have not seen Breaking Bad are falling as in love with him as the rest of us have been for years. He's quite a character, and it is so great to get to know and fall in love with him all over again. And again, I'm still very impacted by this very simple speech about, he's seen the dirty cops, and he's seen people working at the bottom with hearts of gold, and why does one need to belong to one side or the other? And that is kind of the perfect introduction to what we're going to see with Jimmy as well. I am both looking forward to and very scared of what's to come, because we kind of started getting into, we weren't really like getting into a procedural or anything with Better Call Saul, and with Jimmy having his elder law practice and everything. Like, it wasn't getting formulaic, really. What's been nice is that we've had all of these different subplots and things to kind of develop Jimmy into, and it makes the betrayal and the tragedy that much more poignant and intense for us to experience. I mean, I can't wait to go back and watch this episode again. It's just so rich. I've watched each and every chapter at least twice, and what a satisfying ride it has been on so many levels. Really looking forward to the ongoing friendship between Jimmy and Kim as well, the Jimmy-Kimmy duo. I do believe that at some point her camel's back is going to be broken, and she cares so much for the McGill family, and she understands both sides, and she's been connected to and an advocate for Jimmy all this time. So I don't anticipate her falling away. I think that she's going to keep on reaching out for him no matter what transpires, and no matter what seedy corners he returns to pick up work, whatever it's going to be for him. She's got to be there. She really strikes me as that enduring type, and I appreciate that, and I think that Jimmy really needs someone like that in his life. I mean, without her in the picture, everything that just transpired with Chuck would just be that much darker, and it's so she's just the slightest silver lining. I just wish that she would go all in with Jimmy and they could just set out on their own together, but she's on her track. She's got what she feels is her future laid before her, so oh, Lord knows what's coming. Lord knows what's coming. But yeah, so I'd love to hear your predictions for the finale and also for who you think may be the next big Breaking Bad cameo might be, because I know that we're going to get more of that, and I know that there's going to be more of those Easter eggs. I encourage you guys that once the show enters the sure to be devastating hiatus, do watch Breaking Bad or rewatch Breaking Bad to get a little insight, a little glimpse into the future. It is your very own crystal ball of 5 seasons of fun and foresight, so it's gonna be good. Yeah, let me know anything that I forgot to specifically address in this episode. Yeah, so this is the origin point. This is the catalyst for all that is going to transpire. We made it. We have reached that point. So thank you guys very, very much for watching. You can find the rest of my reviews for the season below and other shows. And hey, Gotham is coming back, as is Game of Thrones, Sunday, Bloody Sundays. So yeah, we will have no shortage of devastation and tragedy in the days to come. I've been throwing around that devastation word quite a bit, and I think part of it is due to all of these traumatic shows that I am watching and my sleep deprivation, and it is all just kind of turning into this cocktail of sorrow and appreciation. I'm a TV masochist, man. Put it up if you are too. Okay. And as always, I will be back before you know it.